takes a lot of work to convince women that their bodies and their babies are their enemy. But that is what modern feminism has actually told them. And so they see their children, whether it is the unwanted child or maybe the born children in their home, that those are obstacles to actually the thing that will give them the greatest fulfillment, which is their career or their freedom or finding themselves or whatever it is. When the reality is their bodies are good, different from men's bodies. Obviously, they're going to be able to, they should approach career differently, maybe even approach motherhood differently or family differently in terms of needing to prioritize it sooner than men do in terms of working with your biological system. But the reality is women's bodies are good and working in alignment with women's bodies. It's procreative nature. The reality that we are more connected to our children than men, especially in those early years. And that is the source of some of our greatest fulfillment. And so we actually need to get femininity right. And oftentimes these days that means rejecting feminism.
I have a great friend in Australia, Professor Bruce Robinson, and he started up the Fathering Project. I asked him why he was emphasising the importance of fathers being involved in their children's lives. And he said he was in the business of sadly often being the one that had to say to a man, there's nothing more we can do, go home and get your affairs in order. Oh. And he said that always their first response was, I wish I'd spent more time with my kids if they had kids. It was never, I wish I'd been more successful in my career or spent more time making money. Maybe men have realised that ahead of the feminist tendency to say that satisfaction comes from climbing the corporate ladder and making more money.
Well, I do know that today's fathers, on average, spend about 1.5 hours more with their children than their own fathers did. And so what we do see is when men are married to the mother of their children, because mothers are the gateway, mothers are the connective tissue between father and child so much of the time. When the father is married to the mother, these days men are even more involved with their kids than they used to be. They play more, they help more with housework. Not as much housework in terms of women, but typically that has to do with sort of a career split. But men have gotten the message, I think, that fathering matters and understand that it is a deep source of fulfillment. Women, I think, are getting a lot of toxic messages about how motherhood doesn't matter as much as your career does. And unfortunately, if they believe those messages, sometimes they miss that window for motherhood, because our bodies have a much shorter time frame when we can become parents than a man does. And unfortunately, a lot of the prioritized career, delay motherhood messages mean that some of those women won't be able to have kids at all.